Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are still on the Women in Business, Banking, Investments, Finance, and Technology conference. And we are here with a wonderful and amazing person who is going to be sharing more insights on bridging the gender gap, the imperative for financial inclusion. Here in the studio with us is Ms. Genevieve Pell, who is a banker by profession, a corporate trainer, an SME consultant, speaker, and an author. She holds a doctorate in business administration from the Swiss Business School in Zurich. She is an executive MBA in marketing from University of Ghana and holds another degree in administration from GIMPA. She has really done a lot and she is here to share a lot of insights on bridging the gender gap. So, welcome to the studios, Ms. Genevieve Pearl, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Aqua. I appreciate the opportunity to share knowledge and also to learn. Proud to mine, I just had a wonderful panel session. And one takeout for me was the fact that we should have male champions. Thank you so much to your panel, and I have learned a lot. So, on my topic, I just want to start with a quote by Induwali. It says, financial inclusion helps lift people out of poverty and can help speed economic development. It can draw more women into the mainstream of economic activity, harnessing their contribution to society. So, with this at the back of our minds, I just want to share a bit of story before I take my keynote. I have always said that women cannot do it all by ourselves. We do it with men. However, I always cite the example of a woman who is in business and needs a bit of assistance to support or to scale up her business. This woman is married, so she goes to her husband and say, "My darling, I have this man who is so in love with my business idea and wants to support me with, let's say, $50,000." The first reaction from most men will be, "Okay, that's good, but I'll revert." And then he comes back and say, "I don't think you should go ahead. Are you sure this man is just coming in because of business?" For most men, that would be the first reaction, believe it or not. When it turns or the coin flips and our men come and say, "My darling, I have this one who wants to support me in my business." The first thing a woman will say is that, "Okay, go for it." I know a school of thought will say, some women will also say, "No, are you sure she's not interested in you?" and all that. All I'm trying to say is that as women as we are, I mean, it's so difficult getting access to financing, but it is not because we are women. Finance in general has been a challenge, especially when it has to do with small businesses. And this is mainly because our systems and our structures are normally not the way it should be. So, in setting the tone right for our discussion, I just want us to have it at the back of our minds that we've come a long way in terms of financial inclusion and trying to bridge the gap. We have really come a long way, but more can be done. And that is what I want us to basically discuss today before we even start with our session or our panel discussion. And according to the UN, we leave no one behind when we talk about financial inclusion. And I think in empowering women, what we can actually do is to ensure that women are economically empowered. We cannot do much in terms of economy if we are not financially okay. And that is why it is very important for all of us to adopt ways and means to ensure that when we talk about bridging the gap in terms of financial inclusion, it is a call to everyone. It is not just for some kind of people. It is all of us our duty to ensure that we get this done. So I'll start by asking a few questions. Whose role is it for us to bridge the gap? I would answer the question by saying I think it's everybody's role. As much as the government has their key role in ensuring that certain policies, certain legislative policies are brought about so that as much as we can, women have opportunity to finance. I would also say that the call is on you and I. What can we do as business leaders? What can we do as business executives? What can we do as leaders in general to ensure that this bridge is closed? And for me, I think what we can do is in terms of, I belong to a group that believes that we need to financially empower women. I'm very passionate about financial empowerment of women. And I believe that if we are able to come up with designing certain products and services that would be very unique to women. Women have so many unique features. Let me take, for example, what we all know recently, menstrual issues with women. Some women, excuse me to say, find it so hard to even have money to purchase a pad for their children or for their girl child. And so, how can we design products that are skewed towards women or girls so that together they know that they have access to some level of resources that can assist them? What can we also do as institutions and corporate, institutions? I think one of the key things we should do is to design specific women-centered products. So I belong to a network where we just launched a community bank. And as much as it's not just for women, one of the core for us is to ensure that 65% of the funds goes to support women-led businesses. Just because of the scenario I cited with. When women are empowered economically, we are all happy because the man at home is happy, the children are happy, the community as a whole benefits. So if we are able to design products and services that are fit or that are skewed towards women, I think it will go a long way to support all of us, and it will go a long way to bridge the gap. I think most women have access to phones, and no matter where you find yourself, no matter how your rural community is, no matter how deep you are in some parts of the world or some parts of Africa, let me bring it down to Africa because it's financial inclusion in Africa. No matter where you find yourself, I think at least if you don't have access to a high-end phone, you have access to a very basic phone. So how are we as financial institutions trying to use USSD codes, simple technologies that can go a long way because of fintech, that can go a long way to support the woman who is somewhere in, I'm in Ghana, so I'll say somewhere in the north, in some rural community that still has access to a phone, can at least, without internet, can at least use a code to access money, a code to open an account. We have come up with a strategy where you can just fill a form, not digitally. You can fill a form, yes, but a very simplified form, because most times what we see when people come to our banking halls or people come to where we offer some of these services, the cumbersome nature of the forms itself would let them just, it will just put them off. So how are we able to bridge the gap? By ensuring that we minimize documentation. All we need is to get the basic information that we require. And this is done elsewhere. In developed worlds, we see that you go to a financial institution, whether it's a community bank, whether it's just a POS point, whether it's an ATM, whether it's a cash, wherever you find yourself, all they need is basic information. So you don't have a whole dossier of information where the person is like, I don't belong here. And that is one of the main causes, because they feel they don't belong here. And that is why we have a lot of women unbanked. So in trying to bridge this gap, some of the key things that I think you and I can do, as well as institutions, organizations can also do, is to reduce the cumbersome nature of, if we have to fill document, the cumbersome nature of it. The other bit is for us to be able to digitalize a lot of the processes, to make sure that we have a cashless society. People should be able to access funds or access their information, their banking information from anywhere. And thanks be to God, we have the mobile telecommunication industry doing so much. Now with Momo or with M-Pesa or whichever way you call it in your country, you can have access to some level of financial literacy, some level of financial accounting, some level of funds, access to funds. So I think there are so many ways. So we should not just leave it to the government or to institution, but let's bring it home. Let's see what you and I can do together so that together we can reduce or bridge the gap in terms of gender and in financial inclusion as well. Another thing I want us to look about is why do we even need to worry ourselves with this? The how is what we've discussed, but why should we even bother? Because, like we all know, once a woman is empowered, I think the previous panel spoke about it, the community as a whole is empowered. And if we want to see a lot more women in the boardroom, a lot more women in politics, a lot more women in leadership, a lot more women thriving in businesses, private sector, I think it's important for us to bridge the gap. Because once a woman is confident in herself, once a woman knows that I have the economic power, going or pursuing higher education is no more a problem. But if I am not okay financially and I cannot even feed myself and my family, how then do I think of even continuous improvement plans? I don't think about it. So I want us to look at it holistically. We should not just look at it as in we are trying to bridge the gap so that a lot of women will be banked or more unbanked women as compared to men. I think I read either an IMF report or a UN report that says that in sub-Saharan Africa, 37% of women, we've done well, are banked as compared to 48% of men, which is good, but I think there is more to be done. The gender disparity in terms of finance, in terms of boardroom dynamics, in terms of private sector, in terms of business growth is very low. And it takes you and I to make that difference. So now the next question I would ask is that how are we going to design or how are we going to come up with tactics and strategies that we can all say that indeed there is a problem, but as leaders we solve problems. So what solutions are we bringing on board? I cited the example of my network. What are we doing? We've ensured that at least we make it very simplified. So if you're a woman and you want to join a community bank, you want to join a financial institution, you want to join any kind of financial institution, all you need is just simplify the forms. Don't make it cumbersome. Don't make them feel that they don't belong here. That is the first thing. The second thing is let's try as much as possible to maximize the usage of technology. At least we have a lot of people in rural communities that are unbanked. But the truth is that we also have a lot of people in cities, although our bank are not totally using technology to their advantage. So how do we do this? More education. Let's continuously educate, build capacity. As institutions, I know a lot more is being done. Capacity building is being done everywhere in this world. Every institution is now passionate about how they can bridge the gap. So they are building more capacity in not just women, but in businesses as a whole. And that is good. We should keep it up. But we should also encourage trust. We should develop and let them understand that it is not scary as you think, especially in people who are in the rural communities. It's not scary as you think to use a digital platform. Yes, the negatives are always there, but it is doable. Others have done it. Now we've gone beyond the fear. So we can also do it as Africa. We can also do it. I'm a Ghanaian. So I say we can also do it as Ghana. We can do it as Nigeria. We can also do it as Africa as a whole. So that gradually the trust would be in the fact that it's easier for me and it is convenient for me. So let me leverage on technology so that I can reduce the time I would spend in the banking hall, that will even deter me from going, so that it will reduce the time I would spend in trying to transfer money, going to the bank, the charges and all that. There are so many reasons why we have a lot of unbanked. And for me, I think the practical solutions are very clear. Some institutions have done so well. Fintech has made it so easy for all of us to be able to leverage on little and basic technologies. Now, with mobile banking, you can just use it and you can have access to your money, you can transfer your money, you can do so much. With POS, you can sit here and do transactions. You can move out to events and do transactions, which is excellent. But the call to action for me is that let's focus more on designing products that are very beneficial to women. Let's come up with products that women would buy into. Let's have desk that takes care of women. And I think a lot of the banks, I think if I'm right, Access Bank has W Initiative, a peculiar product designed for women. This is helping to bridge the gap. I think Absa Bank also has a Women Excel. I don't really remember the name, but then they have a desk. I would say that a lot of institutions should have specific products that answer or solves the problem for women. That is one. The next thing I would want us to discuss is for us to be able to have competitive and I'll say specialized rates when it comes to supporting women led businesses. If we want to bridge the gap, then we have to look at how we can come up with very specialized rates that at least you can tell that, okay, a woman's business and a man's business should all grow. But we are trying to design incentives that would make more women come closer and bridge the gap. And how do we do this? I think if we are able to say, okay, for instance, if a man-led business is coming, we would give a rate of maybe 30%. For women, we would want to do 28%. This is just to incentivize a lot more women to come closer to us. And in doing that, you are using the pull system. So now when you say go and do A, B, C, put the systems right, have a bookkeeping system, have your inventory management checked, then the woman understands that, okay, I don't just have to do business to feed my home, but I need to do business like any other person, whether it's a man or it's any other gender. I need to do a business that will transcend me, a business that is sustainable, because we are all looking at 2030. Part of the sustainable development goals is to see that women are financially empowered. Women and gender issues are, in terms of equality, we bridge the gap. So we don't want to look at just inclusion in exclusivity, but we want to look at it holistically and say that if we are able to come up with these bits or these structures, then it makes the work very easy. And for us, in terms of financial inclusion, it is imperative for us to understand that once we are able to design unique products, once we are able to come up with instruments that would aid a woman to do her business beyond her or beyond today, and see that this business has to grow beyond me, this business has to scale up, this business has to be sustainable, then the systems she needs to put in place will be put in place right, because she's now closer to you. We need to now do more of communal building of relationships. So we use community based to build more relationship. Women are communal people, let me put it like that. And once a woman feels that, okay, if I don't pay back, it would affect the next person, the woman is pushed to make sure that whatever you give, it comes back, so that the sister or the next home would also benefit. So I think for me, the call to action this morning is that we are supposed to bring up strategies that will not just look at today, but look beyond today, because we are talking about 2030 sustainable development goals. And it takes you and I to ensure that these things are achievable. But it also takes us to continuously educate women and let them understand that you cannot do your business by not being part of a financial institution. Whichever way you look at it, whether it's the commercial banks, the microfinance institutions, the non-bank institutions, or even the credit unions, wherever you find yourself, you need to belong to a group of financial institutions so that they can assist you when you need help. And it's not even just about credit, but it's also about how to build capacity and make sure that your businesses are going the way it should go. Your businesses don't collapse just in 3 years when you start it. It is not just hand to mouth. You are not just working today to feed your families, but you are working so that together you can build a home, you can build a community, and you can impact well as a woman. For me to conclude, I'll say that it is important for us to see it as a collaborative effort. I cannot do it all by myself. Neither can you, neither can the government, neither can the regulators. But if we all decide that this is a call to action for collaboration, for strategic partnerships, then we can now leverage on all the stakeholders and ensure that we are trying as much as we can to bridge the gap. And so, in bridging the gap, you have a duty, and I have a duty. On this note, I would like to say a very big thank you. I know we are going to go into a session where a lot more of our questions will be answered, a lot more discussions would thrive on the fact that it's important for us as women to be able to be banked, to be able to join institutions that we can benefit from, and finally to be able to ensure that we are building sustainable businesses that transcends us as women. Remember, leadership has no gender, so does business. Business doesn't matter whether it's for a man or it's for a woman, it's for a woman, but we have to ensure that our businesses thrive, whether we are women or we are men. And for me, as one of the things that I stand by, financial empowerment of women. Anything that you can do to support a woman in your community to ensure that a girl, child, or a woman is financially empowered, please do that so that collectively we will make this world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Genevieve. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you for the keynote address. You've addressed a lot of things regarding financial inclusion, bridging the gender gap, gender financing, which will lead to community development. When you train a woman, you train in a community, a household. All those things we've picked up from the discussions that we've been having so far. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you, Dr.
Thank you
Genevieve.
too.
And thank you for sharing your time with us. Wibbifit 2024 continues in a moment. Please stay tuned and don't change.